Thank you so much for all of you coming here today. This is our midway point. January, for those of you who might not know, we are doing a giving and gratitude challenge for the month of January. And we had one speaker, Dr. Amy Sullivan, who helped us kick off. And that recording is available on YouTube. And now today, I'm super excited to introduce Jacqueline Way to you. I just happened to be listening to her on a podcast with Heart Math Institute. And I was like, gee, I wonder if she'd be willing to speak for us. It was like 7 a.m. in the morning. And, you know, a lot of times you ask speakers and you don't even get a response, but I got a response from your organization so quickly and was like on a high. The students who saw me right after that, I was teaching, I can't remember, it was a Wednesday or Friday, but I was like so high, so excited that you said yes, that I was telling everybody about it. And so let me read Jacqueline Way's bio to you. Jacqueline Way is a dedicated world changer serving humanity with love every day. Her sole purpose is to teach, inspire, and empower the hearts and minds of people globally to create a happy, meaningful life and world together. She expresses her purpose through her global giving movement, 365 Give. The charitable organization was created with her 3-year-old son with a simple vision to change the world. Very simple. One give, one day at a time. She is a world-renowned keynote speaker with one of the most watched TEDx talks, How to Be Happy Every Day, It Will Change the World. She is committed to living the highest expression of who she is through her work, family, and by touching the lives of others. And I can just feel it coming through the screen. I bet you guys can too. With that beautiful warm smile and just the way you speak. So without further ado, we will let you take it over. I am going to remove my spotlight.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to have everybody here.
Good morning.
Now, we're going to go through a couple of things today. I'm so excited to have you all here. And, you know, one of the things we're going to talk about, we'll talk about my story, and I'm going to tell you about my story a little bit. But I want to do a couple of exercises with you, because if we were in person, we would do a number of things together that would just get our energy going and start flowing a little happiness through our bodies. So the first thing I want everybody to do is I want everybody to do what I call an emotional scan. So I want you to do an emotional scan for yourself. Where are you at this morning? How are you feeling? Where's your emotion sitting? Are we feeling stressed? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling peaceful? Kathy, I'm not sure whose mic that is. There we go. And Erica has got her mic on. Thanks. Sorry, guys. We just can't. We get a lot of background noise. No worries. That's okay. I swear I have a lot of ADHD, so I get sidetracked very easily. So I want everybody first to do an emotional check-in for themselves. And if you can pop it into the chat. How are you feeling this morning, right now, in this moment? Let's just take one moment to go, how are we feeling this morning? You know, for me, obviously, I'm feeling a little nervous. I always feel nervous when I'm speaking to other people. And I'm feeling really excited because this is me serving, you know, the best version of who I am and giving it all to you today. So I want everybody just to do that little emotional check-in. How are you feeling this morning? And you can share it in the chat. If anybody would like to just say it out loud, feel free to do that. This is a conversation we're going to have together. This isn't just me speaking at you today. So start with that emotional check-in. And let's just start there, because what we know is that throughout the day, if we start doing emotional check-ins, we can not only know where we're at in any given moment, but we can begin to shift that for ourselves. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that today, because this was so much of my 365 Give journey. So I'm just going to let everybody throw a few things into the chat right now. I like that. Relaxed. Oh, and happy. Perfect. Excited. Thank you, everyone. Calm and relaxed. We have a great group. I love that nobody's putting up stressed or anxious or depressed or any of the many other things that we could feel at any time. Erica, thank you for your honesty. Feeling lonely has been a big challenge for a lot of people. And because we can't be in person all of the time, and we've learned to work together in this remote world that we now are in, those feelings are very real. So thank you. Well, thanks, everybody. So the next thing I want to do is, if we can, for just a moment, if it's possible for everybody, and then you'll be able to turn it after we do this exercise, you'll be able to turn your video back off. If you are in a place you can turn your video on, if everybody could turn your video on for just 1 minute. Hi, Asha, nice to see you. So for just a minute, you can turn your video on. We're going to do 2 quick little exercises. So the first thing I always like to start with is just starting to get our energy going. I have a huge belief, and Mindy will know this from working with the Heart Math Institute, is that we all have this wonderful ability to create energy that not only affects ourselves, but affects the world around us and each one of us. So everybody, if you can, just put your hands together, and I'd like you to start rubbing your hands together and start feeling a little bit of heat getting hot in your hands. You can do it as fast as you can, but we're just going to start getting the energy flowing and moving. If we were together, I'd get you standing up and moving our bodies a little bit. So when we're in place, we're just going to get our hands going. And I'd like you to put your hands to your screen. Just put them right out to the screen. We're going to share that energy with each other right now. This is going to create a connection between us all. Just because we're not in person, it doesn't mean that we are apart. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we're going to do one other thing while we're here. I would like everybody, the people who are in, I'm not sure what your view is, but for me, if you're in the top row, so I've got Mindy and Diane and Lori, I would like you to look down at the people below you. And for the people that are down, I'd like you to just look up and acknowledge the people that are right above you on this screen. One of our greatest challenges in the world is that we all need to be seen and heard in our world. And so I want us all to take that moment that we truly see each other. Deepa, I see you. Ruth, I see you. Lisa, I see you. Both Lisas. We have a number of Lisas here today. And Sandy, thank you so much for coming today. Vicki, great to see you. And we're going to do one more thing. And this is going to be our first small act of giving today. Can everybody put a big smile and give each other a big smile today? Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, just by smiling alone, we've now turned on our endorphins, and we're going to talk about how we're going to use our bodies as this beautiful tool to create happiness in our lives and the people around us today. So thank you so much. If you would like to turn your video off, you can turn your video off. If you'd like to leave it on, now we've got to see everybody's beautiful face. You can leave it on. You get to choose and where you're at today. So thank you so much for just starting with me that way. And I'm deeply grateful for everyone taking that moment together. So my name is Jacqueline Way. I am the founder of an organization called 365 Give. We're a charitable organization here in Vancouver, Canada. So some people say I have an accent, and we do lots of fun Canadian things that are unique to us. So that's going to be my excuse for the day today. So I am also a parent of 3 beautiful little boys. And let's see, I was going to say I blame my children on everything I do, but instead I'm grateful for my children, because my children literally started me down this path and my own journey to not only happiness, but how I could be a catalyst for so many people in our world to help create a happier, healthier world together. So my story actually starts with my first son that I adopted. Or sorry, I probably didn't even mention that. I'm actually an adoptive parent. So I have 3 little boys that I all adopt locally here in Vancouver. And for anybody, how many people have we got as parents? For those of you that I can see, or you can flash your mic. A mic is always a good way to do that. Do we have some parents in the room? Well, for those of you that are a parent, or you may be a grandmother, or you may be an aunt or uncle, there's no more magical moment than the moment that you hold your child in your arms for the very first time. And I think that beautiful moment when I got to do that, and I went to my son's foster home. He was just 11 weeks old when we got to bring him home. And truly, for the first time in my life, I experienced what I consider to be unconditional love. And I realized in that moment that I had this beautiful ability, as I believe every human being does, to love unconditionally. I didn't know who my son was. I didn't give birth to him. We didn't even know if he had all of his fingers and toes when we were going to pick him up. But what I learned in that moment is that I had this ability to love unconditionally another human being and to give my whole heart to them. And I realized after I stood back many years later that that moment set me on a path of my life to be able to show and help people understand that we all have that beautiful ability to not only unconditional love, but to give it away every day. So that's how my 365 Give journey started. Now, the part about the adoption is really part of the catalyst of why it started. And the reason I started 365 Give was through the adoption journey. We had to go through, and some of you, if you're married, you may have gone through a marriage counseling course where you have to answer lots of questions and, try to figure out if you and your partner are on the same path. Well, when you adopt, it's the same type of journey where you and your partner go through thousands of questions for literally hours upon hours to discover what you are going to be like as a parent. And one of the questions that I asked my husband and I was, what are your expectations for your child in their life? And my husband's quite traditional, and his answer was, as you would expect many to be. I want him to have a good life. I want him to be well educated, go to school, go have a good career and have a good life. And I realized my answer was a little bit different. And my simple expectations for my children were to grow kind, compassionate, loving little human beings. And I always held that with me. And just before my son started school at the ripe old age of 3, I thought, if I was going to instill these values in my child, I better start now. Because I knew as soon as he started going to school, the influences around him from other children and educators and other people that he came in contact with in his life was going to influence him greatly. So literally on his 3rd birthday, I decided I was going to start a personal parenting project with my son, Nick. And we were going to do one thing to give back to the world every day for 365 days. So I had 1 year to, really show my child how we can create an impact on the world around us, how we can spread kindness and love to everyone that is literally in our backyard. And when I talk about our backyard is how could we keep this close to home within our community? We weren't going to travel the world doing this. And how could I make it so simple that my 3-year-old could not only do it, but understand it? And so this was my path that I took for 365 days. And yes, many people around me thought I was absolutely crazy. But I decided that we were going to give it a shot and see how it went. And when I did this, I actually at the same time decided I'd like to share my stories with our friends and our family and anyone else that would read. And I started a blog because this was a few years ago and blogs were the thing that you did. And so every day you can literally go to our website, 365 Give, and the very first blog I ever wrote is still there today. And that was now 12 years ago. And, I said, we make that leap of faith, and I was just going to do my best. And so we started our journey, and every day we started finding one thing, something small to do that would create a positive effect on the world around us. Now, we didn't do random acts of kindness. We instead made intentional, mindful. It literally became our practice every day of how could we look out into the world and find that small thing that we could do that intertwined with our own lives. It wasn't going and, at 3 years old, you can't go volunteer at a soup kitchen. You had to find the things that were literally in your own backyard that you can make a difference with. So we got going, and my son and I actually sat down and we started talking about some of the things that interested him. And one of the things that he said is, I really like animals, Mom. And so our very first thing on our list is we happen to have an animal rescue shelter. I love that Mindy just brought her dog into the picture. I need my cats at the same time right now. We went down to our local animal shelter and we donated blankets and towels, things I had right at home down at the animal shelter. And we also got, at the same time, had the opportunity to do our first act of volunteering, and we got to spend some time with the cats playing and petting them. And it was in that moment, and I wish everyone could have seen the light that just came from my son. But this one small act of giving that we started, he realized in that moment how happy giving made him. And if anyone has ever spent time with an animal, especially at a rescue shelter, the happiness that they actually bring you is the gift of giving in itself. So we went on this journey, 365 days, blogging every day, giving every day. And at the end of our journey, I realized I was addicted to giving. And now that I stand, many years back from my giving journey and creating our charity and all of the things that we've accomplished through it, what I didn't realize at the time when we started was the positive effect that giving was not only going to have on our community and the world around us, but the positive effect that giving had on us. And, I want to talk about, what giving means, and that it's not just giving money. My son and I actually really didn't give money at all. We found ways that we were able to raise money. We found ways that we were able to save money through other acts of giving. One of my favorite things that we did, and probably in most of the areas that you live in, we used to collect our cans and our bottles that we could take to the depot and get money for. And so that became a ritual for my son and I. We would keep all of our bottles, keep all of our cans. About every 2 weeks, we go down to the recycling depot and we put them all together, and then we get money for what we did. And, over the course of a year, we saved that money. We had a jar in our car, and we would put all the change. And if we got some bills, we put them in there. And, we ended up saving almost $200. It was about $186. And we ended up helping build a roof on a school in Africa. And when we shared the story through our blog and what we were doing, we actually ended up raising over $2,000 from the generosity of other people that joined us. And we were able to help rebuild the school in Africa. And it was pretty amazing. And so it didn't cost us any money, but yet we came together with other people around the world and through the work that we did over the course of the year. And we were able to make a really big impact. And my son at those times, I don't know if everybody remembers, does everybody remember a thing called Skype? And that was the first kind of video tool like this that we had. And we were actually able to connect with those kids in Africa, and he was able to meet them. And it was a remarkable moment in time where he really felt that connection to the impact that he was making on other kids around the world. So our journey was pretty remarkable over the course of that year. And my addiction ended up turning into something that I could have never imagined. And I had a girlfriend of mine who was following along, and she was a school teacher. And she reached out to me and said, how can I bring this 365 give concept to my classroom? And I was like, I have no idea. I wasn't a teacher, as I always say, I was just a mom. And so we sat down with her principal, and over a very short period of time, we ended up coming up with a pilot project where we created an educational program for kids that started a daily giving practice right in school. It implemented this daily giving practice that not only taught kids about giving, but it became their own mindful practice. It became a practice that the classrooms could do together, the schools could do together, where they could make an impact on the world around them. But we do it a little differently because we always go back to what my son and I did, and we got to choose. We didn't follow a program. We didn't, sign up for random acts of kindness or anything else, but we took a look around our own world and our own lives. And we realized that every day, the more we practice giving, the more giving actually showed up for us in our own world. We realized that we had put on this lens of giving in which we no longer had to be creative and sit down and make lists and decide what we were going to do ahead of time, because the opportunities to give showed up for us every single day. If we were going to the park, we always had the opportunity to pick up garbage along the way. If we were working out in the garden, we always had the opportunity to help our neighbors and do something for them. If we were taking out the garbage every Thursday morning, we always had the opportunity to bring the bins in of our neighbors next door. And all of a sudden, this practice became this opportunity to start viewing the world in a different way and to put on the lens of love. It's probably why I chose my heart mug, tea mug this morning, is because we realized that we looked out in the world and we went, how can we truly see the world through the lens of how can I give? And how can I create an impact in the world around me? Because knowing that every time we did, not only were we creating a better world, but we were creating happiness for ourselves as well. So back to my school program, we create this school program and we test it out in a few schools. Well, we called it the 365 Give Challenge. And in those moments, or when we started the challenge in the schools, we started with just 3 schools, 13 classrooms. And over the course of 3 years, we expanded that very quickly. And we ended up including locally here in Canada, 25 schools and over 8,000 children on our program. And the success was amazing. Well, as synchronicity has it, and it's a very long story, but I met this gentleman in the gym who was 83 years old. And literally 3 weeks later, because he knew somebody who knew somebody, I ended up on a TEDx stage. And I did a talk, and it's called How to Be Happy Every Day. It Will Change the World. Well, this is where I like to talk about the ripple effect of giving, because as much as if you choose to go and watch that talk, that talk and creating that talk was not my happiest moment in my life. It was probably one of the most stressful moments of my life, trying to create that talk and actually get up on stage and have the courage to do it. But doing that talk created a ripple that has now traveled all over the world. And our program is no longer a school program, but it's now a global giving movement that has traveled to over 886 countries around the world at this point. And I always say, and at the end of that talk, I said, but we've only just begun. And I say this every time I share the 365 Give story with people, is we've still only just begun. And what we came to realize is that we all have the ability, no matter how old you are, how young you are, your abilities or potentially your differences, doesn't matter your culture, your socioeconomic situation, is that we learn through our giving and through the children that we've worked with all over the world now, is that we all have this beautiful ability, this gift that was given to us, that's called giving. And I want to talk to everybody a little bit about how we are actually all hardwired to give, how we are actually all born to give. And we like to call it, and it's my reminder so I don't forget, it's our daily dose of happiness. And dose is an acronym that stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and our endorphins. And these are actually neurotransmitters, they're hormones that every single human being has. So when I say we were born to give, this is the beautiful gift that we were given, that every human being, when you are born, you have all of these chemicals in your body. Now, they all fire and wire a little differently for all of us, but the beautiful gift of giving, no matter how small, is that these all fire and wire at the same time. And so dopamine is actually our reward system. This fires off when potentially you cross a finish line. If you choose to watch the TED Talk, you'll see at the very end of the talk, my arms go up in the air like I'm crossing a finish line. And I just like, yes. And that was my moment that the dopamine fired off in my body, because I felt like I had literally finished a marathon, or I was an Olympic runner and had just finished the finish line and crossed over the finish line and actually made it through my talk without forgetting what I was supposed to say. So that's dopamine that fires off in our body. Oxytocin. Okay, where's Mindy's dog? She was petting her dog. I think she still is. Well, that happened for me this morning too. When I woke up this morning, both my cats that I have came and just cuddled right up around me. So if you have a pet, this is a partnership potentially with a loved one. This is your hug. That's that smile that we also gave each other. That's oxytocin. That's our love hormone that courses through our body. And serotonin, that's happiness. So when you're feeling happy, serotonin's running through your body. And last but not least is our endorphins. Well, our endorphins kick in. If you've heard of the runner's high, our endorphins kick in to keep us going. It's also a pain reliever. It's how somebody can run a marathon. If you're in pain, the endorphins are keeping that pain down for you as you're running through a marathon. For those of you that do yoga, that's another, there's nothing like a good painful yoga pose that you have to get yourself through. And that will be your endorphins that are pushing you through just a little bit further than you thought you could go. So that's your daily dose of happiness. Well, the neat thing about giving is they call it the helper's high, and all of this fires and wires at the same time. And it's interesting because there's not a lot of actions that we can take in our lives that all of those fire and wire simultaneously. You may do one thing that fires dopamine. You may do something else that fires oxytocin, but these actually fire all at the same time. So it's our bodies, our humanness that was given to us, that makes us feel so good when we give. And this not only includes giving, but this is giving and gratitude. And we can use these in our lives to start creating more happiness, to change our emotional health. There are so many benefits to giving that people don't realize. It increases our happiness. It increases our well-being. It increases both our mental and our physical health. They've even discovered that giving helps you live longer, believe it or not, in your own life. So these are just some of the benefits that by doing small acts of giving every day, a practice, as we say, it's like brushing your teeth. And I can promise you right now, it's the joke that I said in the TED Talk. It's way easier to teach a 3-year-old to give every day than it is to brush their teeth every day, without a doubt. But this is this mindful, intentional practice that we can start implementing into our lives. And people always say to me, but how do I do it every day? And I want you to all start thinking about potentially, because I'm hoping everybody's going to be able to share, and you can share on video or you can share in the chat. I want you to think of potentially one small act of giving that we could all share with the group, something that didn't cost you any money, something that only took you a few minutes of time, unlike Lori, who volunteers, hours and hours of her time to support Mindy. And we have many volunteers at 365 that do the same. I want you to think of that one small act of giving that you may be able to do today. And one of the things that I'll share that I do pretty much every day is I actually use my social media, especially at 365 Give, to create positive messages that we get to put out into the world. Because what we know about social media, or really any media these days, is we all have that lens that either what shows up in our algorithms of what we watch, and that can be on your Netflix, that can be on your TV, it can be via your phone, it can be on YouTube. But what they show you is more of what you are watching. So if you're consuming a lot of news, if you're consuming a lot of negative news, if you're watching a lot of politics, it will also do this to your phone as well. Those algorithms will be picked up in every area of your life. So what I know is that by putting good out to the world, that whoever's watching and consuming our content, that's going to show up in other areas by using your phone. In all areas of their life, on your Instagrams, if you're on there, on your TikTok, if you're on there, on your Facebook. We can all know that those algorithms show us what we watch, and it will show you more of. So I want everybody to take a minute, think about either something you could share, and you can share it in the chat, or I'd love to hear some voices. What are some of the small things that you have done in your own life that we could share with each other today? To inspire each other to give, or ideas that you could share. Because we always say, when you share your story, that's what we did. We shared our story through our blog all those years ago, and now it's traveled around the world. So let's all think of one small story, one small thing you could share today. And you can put it in the chat, or if you'd like to raise your hand and share it out to everyone, I'd love to hear your own ideas, because there's never too many. Okay, I can't see the name, but I can see a phone number. So if you want to just unmic. Elaine, is that you? You've got your mic open. Do you want to share something with us?
Yeah, I'll share something.
I love that.
Today I'll call a friend of mine who's 95 and lives in California, and she's kind of stuck in the house because of COVID. So she's lonely, and we'll talk art.
I love that one. That's one of my favorites. I have a friend just like that too. I do that too. He was my go-to friend over COVID, actually. I would go deliver food at his door when I was making my own family a meal, and I'd deliver him, and I'd make sure I'd call every day. So I love that one. Thank you for that reminder. That's a great one. And we've got lots in the chat as well. Make cookies for volunteers at a local nature sanctuary. You know what? I'll share a little story of what I did this week. I have the water main is being changed on my road out front of my house right now. And I was thinking about, what an inconvenience it is basically for everybody up and down our street right now. There's days I can't get into my driveway. The road is closed down. And I thought, I had two choices, and I could suffer through what's going to be weeks of construction out front of my house. Or instead, I could turn this around. And so the day that they literally were digging up right in front of my house, couldn't get into my driveway, was the day that I waited. I made them all, there was a crew of 10 that are doing this. I made them all hot chocolates and fresh baked cookies. And literally they were still hot, took them all outside for the crew. You've never seen a more shocked group of construction crew people that I came out with this delivery and brought them their treats. So I decided that instead of swearing at them all, that I was going to do something good for them instead. And I have to tell you, it's made a huge difference to my ability to get up and down my street. The crew clears the road for me every time. But most of all, for me to be able to just drop it and walk away and then watch the shock on their faces and the smiles, that was the gift that I had, which was amazing. So here's a good one. We wave and smile to the neighbors every time. How simple is that? over COVID, I think one of the things that I really miss is, I don't know if you guys did it, but we did it here in our neighborhood. I happen to have a church just literally doors down the street from me. And so at 7 o'clock every night, a volunteer would go and ring the church bells, and we'd all come out and we would bang our pots. And this went on for weeks over COVID in my neighborhood. But the really great thing about it is I finally had a chance to see all of my neighbors. We could see each other from our decks that we have, or we'd see them from our front porches when we came out. And then we would walk in the evening around our neighborhood. And I love that I finally had that opportunity to connect and find out people's names and who they are that live beside us. So I love that one, which is amazing. Anybody else want to unmic and share a story with us? No worries. Let's share another one from the chat as well. Leaving a handmade card, an encouraging card for coworkers. This is one of my favorites. One of the things that we do with the kids at school all the time is the kids love making art, obviously. And so we'll make gratitude, thank you cards, or just random positive notes that the kids can leave around the school or share with another classmate, which is a terrific one. There's actually a woman that I have befriended, and her organization is called Happy Little Moments. And she lives in the Netherlands. And she actually creates these beautiful handmade cards that she leaves randomly in places all over the Netherlands. If she's on the subway, she'll leave one on the seat. If she's in a washroom, she'll leave one on the counter for people to pick up. And there are these beautiful handmade cards. And she's made such a huge impact all over the world by creating these cards for everyone. So I love that one. That's a great one. There you go. I love the shout out, Mindy, for that one. Elena is a talented photographer and has given so much of her time. I think that one of the beautiful things about giving is that I know, is we all have this beautiful light that shines within each of us. We all have this gift, no matter your ability. We all have a gift that's been given just to us. Every human being is different. So obviously for me, I've learned that one of my gifts is talking to people. I can talk forever. And so that's one of the ways that I have been able to, shine a light on giving and helping people understand that beautiful power it has to not only impact the world, but really impact ourselves. And so that's something that I do to give out to the world as much as I can. But each and every one of you also has something, your ability to give in your own way. So if you're a photographer, you're a writer, Lori's a creative and likes to do Canva. I love using Canva. That's one of my favorite tools. Find what your gift is and how can you give that out to the world as well. And that's something that we can all do. Okay, so we're going to take another quick little break. I want everybody to take a moment and I want you to do another emotional check-in. And I'm going to share with you why we're going to do this again. So I want everybody to think back to where we started. Where are we right now? How's everybody feeling? You can share it in the chat if you want, but really I want you just to do an emotional check-in, and we're going to move to another exercise in a minute so that we can begin to understand how we can in our own lives begin to shift our own happiness, how we can create an emotional shift in our day. And then we'll talk about why we need to do that as much as possible. So I'm feeling a little more relaxed. I'm not feeling as nervous. I'm not so scared anymore of speaking with everyone. Now I've had a little bit of time with you. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 5 big, deep breaths in. So we're going to take 5 breaths in and big breath out. I want you to breathe in through your nose, and then I want you to exhale through your mouth. So we're going to do that one together. So in through your nose, out. In through your nose, out. 2 more, 3 more. Last one. And out. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about next is our emotional regulation and why this is important and what it has to do with giving, honestly. So one of the things that research and science has shown us is that giving runs in a circle with our emotions. And when we give, we've already talked about this, when we give, giving makes us happier. But here's the other thing, when we're happier, we innately are more compassionate. We are innately more grateful. We are innately more giving and kind to the people around us. So giving really acts as this beautiful full circle. And what we know in the world today is that our world's pandemic today is no longer COVID, but our world's pandemic today is actually our mental health of people at a global scale. The rates of now, and especially after COVID, of depression, stress, anxiety is really our world's greatest challenge right now. And what we know is when people are in those states, those mental states and emotional states, they don't have the ability to actually go out into their community and make that difference and make that impact. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on a couple of exercises where I want you to start considering in your own life to start doing emotional check-ins for yourself, and do those emotional check-ins for yourself and potentially people around you. So we've already done 2 emotional check-ins. What I want you to do now is I want you to think of a time in your own life, could be something recent, could be something that was a little while ago, where you had a really happy moment in your life. Okay, so think back to that happy moment. You can close your eyes. Could have been maybe a trip that you took. It could have been time with family over the holidays. Could have been time with a friend. It could have been time you were doing some volunteer work. Could have maybe been like the time that I was sharing, that moment I held my son in my arms for the very first time. That moment puts me to tears almost every single time I think about it. I'm going to share a little story with you about a happy moment from one of my children. And my children all have neurodevelopmental disorders. And so emotional regulation can be a challenge for them most moments of many days. And so one of my sons, my middle son, came to me a few months ago, and he decided he needed an emotional support animal. Our dog had recently passed away, and he decided that emotional support, at the age of 11, I don't know what he was watching on YouTube, but decided an emotional support animal was what he needed. And so we decided this time, instead of having dogs, because they weren't willing to take on the responsibility of a dog, Mindy, that we were going to get a cat instead. We decided we were going to become cat people. And so what I really wanted my son to realize is how he could tap into his own intuition, his own heart sense, his own heart power to really choose the right animal for him, because this was going to be his pet, his emotional support animal. And so we went on a cat hunt, and we also decided that we were going to make our own impact in the world, and we were going to get an animal that was in foster care. So we were going to do a rescue. And so my son and I started looking up different ways to find foster animals, and we started going on visits, and we found one cat. His name was Mango, and we were going to go visit it at a foster home, and we were sure this was the cat. The description was right on the nose. It was the one. And we went to the foster home, and my son met the cat, and it was a lovely cat. But I was watching him, and I realized, and I already knew this, it wasn't the one. And so I said to him, and I took him aside in the foster home, and he said, "Well, Mom, the cat's fine. It will be fine." And I said to him, "Yeah, but is it the right one?" And he said, "Mom, it's not the right one." And so we ended up, over the course of about 2 weeks, going on a cat hunt. And we went to foster home after foster home, animal shelters, rescue places. And one day we ended up going into a rescue animal place, and he literally pointed to a cat. He said, "Mom, that's the one." I went, "What do you mean? How do you know it's the one? You haven't even met it. It was just through it was through some glass." So he said, "No, Mom, that's the one." And so we were able to go in, and that child, you've never seen a kid. I've never seen a person light up so much. The moment that cat came up to him and he sat down on the floor, it cuddled up in his lap, and he said, "This is it, Mom. The cat's name is April. This is the one." And the emotional response that he got from this cat, and not only did we bring home one, just so you know, we brought home 2 that day. One wasn't enough. But it was in that moment that my son realized that his happiness could be exchanged between another living creature. and that he could regulate his happiness with this cat, which was absolutely amazing. And it was the moment that he realized that he could tap into his own intuition and his own ability to shift his emotions in any given moment. So when we're struggling at home some days and emotional regulation is tough, it's exactly what he does. And he goes and he sits with April and he learns to regulate his emotions, and that he has the ability to shift how he's feeling. So that's why I wanted to share that story, because when we think of happy moments in our life, we can start to shift our own emotions just by what we're thinking about. So now what we can do is we can go take that out into the world. So what if every day you took those moments to do that emotional check-in and you ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Now, for me, some days I have to tell you, running a charitable organization is not easy. It's stressful and it's hard and I get stuck. And so I'll take those moments. I'll take those breaths that we just did, because those breaths that we just did help to calm our nervous system. They calm us down so that our brain actually starts thinking in a way that works best for us. And I'll shift my attention to something else. And so I shift my attention to a happier moment in my life. The same way we know, and I call it our monkey mind can also shift our attention to more and more stress. Once we start thinking about negative thoughts, we tend to get into a pattern. And I call it's like a funnel that we just start spiraling down, and more negativity come. So I always encourage everyone, do those emotional check-ins during the day, take your 5 breaths, and how can you start shifting your attention to a happier moment throughout the day? So let's take that moment, shift your attention. What's the happy moment you're going to think about? And now we're going to do a little gratitude exercise. Okay. So in that happy moment, whatever that one was for you, I want you to think about how you can take that gratitude from that happy moment. What were you grateful for in that happy moment in your life? Was it a person? In my case, it's these beautiful little cats that we have adopted and brought home. I am grateful for them every day. I get to wake up to love from them every single morning. When I get up, they're right there because I feed them in the morning. So they come and wake me up. But I am so grateful that they have brought so much love to my family. And we all say this, that the love in our family has grown just from these beautiful little animals in our own life. And we're deeply grateful for them. So I want you to think, just from that happy moment that you thought about, what are you grateful for from that moment in your life? And is there anyone that would like to either share what they're grateful for? Maybe you'd like to shout out a person in your life. Maybe you'd like to shout out a moment in your life. Maybe it's your own animal. Mindy's got her dog sitting on her lap. Or put it in the chat. What's something that you're grateful for from that happy moment in your life? Mindy, would you like to share?
What comes to mind immediately, we started doing some in-person classes, and it just feels so good to be together. And I view myself as a facilitator rather than a teacher, but I'm just so grateful for this gift to be able to share yoga and meditation and the meaning of community.
I love that. Well, and I'm deeply grateful that I got to be connected with everybody here today, because I work alone from my office here. You're in my office, welcome home. and I work by myself. I work with volunteers from all over the world, but I'm not in person with them. So these personal moments and this connection for me is such a gift. I'm really deeply grateful for that time. Would anybody else like to share what they're grateful for from their happy moments that they were just thinking about? No worries. Well, thank you everyone for taking that moment in time. Now, because all of you are, you're already doing the work, your mindfulness, your yoga with Mindy, that all takes us into the present moment in time. And I encourage everyone that throughout the day, take those moments, could you send someone a note of gratitude? Maybe that person you were just thinking of through your happy moment? Was there someone in that moment that today you could send them a little note? I'll tell you a funny little story that over Christmas, I don't know why, but my very first boyfriend, when I was 16 years old, he came to mind over Christmas. And I thought, what a beautiful moment of time he was for me. This is a lot of years ago now, that he taught me about love. He was my very first boyfriend. We loved each other very much. And he gave me a beautiful lesson on love. And so I looked him up on Facebook. I haven't talked to this man in 40 years. And I decided I was going to try and find him. And I found him on Facebook. And I sent him, out of nowhere. I mean, talk about sideswiping somebody. I sent him a note on Messenger and Facebook. And I thanked him for the love that he had brought to my life. And what a beautiful lesson he gave me at such a young age about love. And, we had a beautiful exchange. I haven't talked to him since. We had like a one-day exchange with each other. And he was so grateful that I had just reached out and recognized that time that we had together. And it was amazing. And I ended up doing that to about 4 old boyfriends over, and I've been married for like almost 20 years. So this isn't like I'm trying to find myself a date. But I realized that there were so many pivotal people in my life that had taught me so much about love. And it was so wonderful to reach back to them and just say, thank you for making that impact on my life. So it was a really special moment for me. So Asha, I saw that you put your video on. Would you like to share something? You can say no, it's okay. No? But we can't hear you. Put your mic back on.
Oh, we can't hear you.
No.
Oh, there she goes.
There she goes.
Yeah, I was going to say that I was grateful for my son and grateful for the healing that I'm doing at the moment. Been a long road and just keep going every day. You just have to keep trying. Different body every day.
Every day. Beautiful. Thank you for that share, Asha. That was really beautiful. It's a reminder that, everyone has something they're healing from. We all have things in our own lives, in our own world that either have happened in our past or even potentially happening today. And that could be mental healing. That could be emotional healing. That could be trauma. And that can be physical healing in our own lives that we're dealing with. And no one person is alone. And that is a journey that we all take in our lives at some point or another. So Asha, thank you for bringing that forward, because it's our own reminder that we're not alone. So thank you for that. That was a beautiful gift to share with the room. Would anyone else like to share while we're here? Okay, thank you for that. Now, before we have 1 hour together today, so I don't want to go too over time. I just want to check in with anyone and see if anybody has any questions about the work that I do in the world, questions about my own journey and my happiness journey and what they've learned today. If they have any questions that they have for me before we move on. You can put them in the chat as well. I think I'll make sure that I'm up to date here. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. I was missing some things in the chat.
I want to say thank you for all these notes of gratitude. It's so beautiful.
Amazing.
And so happy to see you. I'm glad we see you, Asha. I'm always so happy when you join us.
I love that one, Sandy. I'm so grateful for my husband who helps me every day. That's beautiful. Well, thank you. So just before we begin to wrap, I want to encourage everyone to take time in your life every day. Today we were talking about giving and also gratitude. Take that time in your own life every day. Think about how you can start your own happiness habit. My journey with 365 Give, as much as it was what I thought was a lesson for my son about being a kind, compassionate, loving human being, it really became my own lesson to understand how I could be a kind, compassionate, loving human being every day. It became my own happiness practice, 365 days of the year. Because when we really look back at our own lives, and we have people of all different ages here, is, when we look back on the last day of our life, we won't look back and say, I lived a happy life. My life had impact and meaning and purpose for others and for myself. And so this is a very simple practice that we can all start. And I know yoga is a practice in itself, and mindfulness is a practice in itself. And I promise you that when you start doing a small giving practice, is not only are you making that impact on everyone around you, but the biggest impact you'll make is the impact you'll make for yourself. And it's that beautiful reminder that when you are regulated, when your emotions are regulated, when you're in a happy, peaceful place, that happiness is contagious to everyone around you. And that could be as simple as your dog. That could be as simple as your cats. That could be your children, your grandchildren. It could be the people that you're in contact with in your own community. But that happiness, that emotional regulation has the ability to affect everyone around us. They've actually done research on this. And, in our own lifetimes, we will touch anywhere between 30,000 and 150,000 people in your lifetime. If you had asked me 10 years ago that I would have the power to touch millions in my lifetime, I would have laughed at you. I would have never in a million years thought that this little talk that I did on a stage called TED would have the power to affect so many. But we have that ability every day with the people that we come across in our lives to create a positive impact on them just by how we feel. Our happiness will spread and spread and spread. That's the ripple effect. So if you do nothing else and you don't feel you have the ability to do anything else, know that your emotions will affect everyone around you. And take that time. And that can be on your social channels. You're affecting everybody with everything you post, by the comments that you make on other people's posts. You're affecting everybody by the telephone conversations that you have and the text conversations that you have. And even today, you could send one positive message to somebody else in your life. So consider that every day. And as you take the breaths, that's the gift that we all have each day in our life. Every breath that we take is our gift of being a human being. And know that the breath that you take is affecting someone else on the planet. And we never consider that, because that breath that I take in and that breath that I take out is part of the breath that envelops our whole planet. And it's a reminder that we're all connected. And I may not see all of you again, but Catherine, you and I will forever be connected now because we've had an energetic exchange. Asha, you and I will be connected because every breath I take in and every breath I take out, it's all connected on this planet. It doesn't go somewhere, it's here. And we're always all connected to each other. And in my energy, I can affect the energy of everything around us. And Mindy, it's really interesting that you found me through the Heart Math Institute. I encourage everyone to go look at the Heart Math Institute and find out how your energetic frequency is shaping the magnetic field of this planet. And it's not woo-woo. I'm not making it up. It's now science, proven and proven and proven that each and every one of us can affect each other in every day. So I thank you for your time and spending your Saturday with me today. I wish you nothing but love and happiness in your own lives. And I encourage you to start your own intentional practice of giving and gratitude each and every day.
Thank
So I
you.
always like to end one more time before we leave. If everybody can rub their hands together. Let's do one more beautiful energy shift. And this time, if you can send love out to each other and happiness out to each other. Thank you for coming today. I feel a tingle. Thank you for being here with me. And have a beautiful day on purpose.
Thank you so much.
Jacqueline. Oh, this was so beautiful. I can feel through your words and your energy how giving you are, and the love that radiates from you. And I know it's going to have a ripple effect. This is a beautiful community that comes together for Yoga Moves MS. I feel very lucky to be a part of it, and so thankful for all of you joining. And I know several of you, you are such beautiful people. So many have given that are on today. You're giving just by being here today and making the vibe even stronger. Thank you for being part of the Giving and Gratitude Challenge. You can join at any time, and Lori, together with another Yoga Moves member of the community, put together some prompts for every day, just to kind of, if you're thinking, what should I do today for my Giving and Gratitude Challenge? There's prompts for you, and they're on social media, and they've been in our emails. And Joshua did some research on what are some of the best resources out there on giving and gratitude. And that is on our website in a blog post. So make sure to check that out. So much gratitude. And we do have another speaker at the end of the month, Megan Weigel, who is a fellow yogi, but also very well known in the MS world. A beautiful specialist and doctor of nursing. So she just wrote a book called Monday Mantras with Megan, and she will be capping us off at the end of the month on the 30th. And thank you so much. I want to remind you that Jacqueline she created 365 Give. And so you can go on her website, and if you feel gratitude at some point and want to make a little donation, I know they'd really appreciate it.
I also wanted to share with everyone that on our website, if you go into the daily giving ideas, you can sign up there, and we will send a daily giving idea, just something small, into your inbox every single day of the year, 365 days of the year. So that's somewhere that you can go and join up. We're just about to change our website. We're getting a whole new website, is under works right now, but that's something that you can sign up and oh, I just had a hummingbird fly outside my window. That's good vibes, everybody. But you can go there, and we'll send an idea right into your inbox, and it will be about giving and gratitude and kindness and compassion, all of those things.
Thank you so much. We will share this video. I'm going to send it out to all of you, and then please share it with anyone you think would enjoy it. Spread Jacqueline's love all over the place. Sprinkle it everywhere. Thank you, everyone, for being here today.